So far we have seen uh, the architecture of ARM Cortex processor and the basic functionalities, like what are the modes of operations of the processor, and the when we talk about the memory map peripheral, that is LPC 1768. So we've seen the UART and the timer, and how we are able to use the UART and UART configurations. So those things we have seen in the last class. Also, we have seen the timers and the principle behind the timer and the various registers used in both UART and the timers. Okay, that is about the architectural concepts, and since we are using those things in our program, so it is necessary to know about the UART and the timers. Yeah, we begin with the process. So since our subject is on operating systems, the real-time operating systems, so we've seen the process and how the process creation, the process management, what are the various functions used in the RTX or the process. So those things we have seen, and the process management. So since the operating system is for multitasking, we mainly intend for multiprocessing or multitasking. So there are a number of tasks running on the system. So there should be some sort of a communication needed between the various tasks, because you will be sharing certain resources. So there will be a resource sharing involved. So you're sharing the resources. So when you share the resources, sort of the kernel objects or some, you may need some way in which you control the different process or the tasks which are running on the system. Okay. So today we shall see the intertask communication. The various types of scheduling, and also maybe we'll not be able to see all the different kernel objects like semaphores, mutex, etc. So there are those things we shall see in the next coming classes. But today I'll discuss the events, which is one of the kernel, the object which we'll be using for intertask communication. And also we will see how we are going to schedule it, the types of scheduling. Okay, so the scheduling supported by the RTX. Okay, so in real applications, so we need to communicate between the tasks, so to make it the application useful. So there are different communication objects involved in the RTX. So we will be looking at the events. What is an event? So when a task is created in RTX, okay, for each task there is an event register, and there are 16 event flags for each task. For each task there are 16 event flags, means there is an event register, so having 16 flags. Okay, so you can enable the particular flags. Okay, so this is stored in your task control block. So it is possible to halt the execution of a task until a particular event flag or a group of event flags are set by the another task. So you mean you're going to control the task which is running through the another task. Maybe you put a function saying that you wait for an event, which means until the event is set by another task, you cannot proceed. Okay, so this is how you can get a communication between the, I mean, to have a multi-processing or multitasking. So each task has 16 event flags, and a task may be placed into a waiting state until a pattern of flags is set by another task. Okay, so whenever it happens, whenever you wait for an event, the task will go to the ready state, and it is to be scheduled by the kernel. Okay, so suppose a task T1 is running, and it is waiting for an event, and the event is set by the task 2. So when you receive an event by the task 2, it will again run. So meanwhile, it is pushed into the ready list because it is waiting for an event. Okay. Yeah. So the two event wait system calls suspend execution of a task, and it will place into the wait event state. So which you call it as a wait event state. Since there are 16 flags, you can wait for a number of flags in the sense at least one or two. So you put a or version in the sense, suppose I am have enabled some 2-3 flags of my event flag register. Then if I have wait or event wait, an or function, which means at least one should be enabled. Suppose if it is an AND function, it is a purely logical function. If I have AND, which means whichever the flags are enabled, all need to be set. All need to be set. Means it is waiting for the whole group. Okay. So yeah. So also it is possible to define a periodic timeout. So you will wait for a certain amount, but how long you'll wait for the event flag. So after which the waiting task will move back to the ready state. Okay, there is a timeout period. So the maximum timeout period, you put it as a 0xFFFF, which defines as an infinite timeout period. So this is how you have the syntax for your event. So OS underscore event underscore wait underscore and means you will be using it. You're waiting for the multiple, all means all need to be, whichever the flags set, all need to be enabled. Okay. So here you put a unsigned timeout period. So what are the flags you are going to wait? And if it is an OR function, at least out of the group, at least one or two need to be enabled. So this is how you, and this is, it will return the value, OS result. Yeah. So here initially you need to set, okay. You set an event. So the function is OS underscore event set. You set an event. What are the event flags you are going to set for which task? Okay, for which task? So this is the task ID. For which task I am going to set an event, that you have to clearly mention in your function declaration. Then you have, yeah, it is also possible to clear the selected flags. So for which you will be using event clear. So what are the flags of which particular task? So these are the functions which are used. And it is also possible to get the function. I mean, this function allows you to determine the event flag that was set. So you can get a value. Okay. So which flag you want to? So using this function, event get function, you can find out. Okay. So whenever a task resumes execution after it has been waiting for OS underscore event underscore wait, or it may need to determine which event flag has been set, okay, for which you can make use of this particular function. Yeah, so we shall see the different scheduling options. So why I have discussed event flags in between in the beginning itself? Because we are using in our scheduling most of these kernel objects like event or the uh, semaphores or the mutex. So maybe those things I'll discuss in detail later. But event is it's very simple because each task is given a set of 16 flags in the register, and you can set the specific flags, and using a set function you say that you're setting the event for the another task. So through that you can communicate, you can have a communication with the another task. So which event you are waiting, that is you can have a set of instructions in that. Okay, so RTX allows you to build application with the 3 different types of kernel scheduling, which are preemptive, round robin, and cooperative. Okay, see, most of you may be familiar with this. Maybe you have studied in your embedded system design while discussing the different types of scheduling. Okay, so, but again, let us see the definition of it. So preemptive meaning, preemptive, as the name says, you, whenever a task is running, means there will be a set of priority given to the different task, and a particular task from the ready list will, the highest priority among those will be taken and starts running. So it will run until it is interrupted by another higher priority than the running task, or it has reached a blocking state. Maybe it needs some certain resources in which it can go to the block state, then and definitely it is moved on to the block state, and the another task next to this priority can take a chance for the execution. Fine. So preemptive scheduling means the task will be assigned with a different priority, and from the ready list, the task which is given with the highest priority will start executing, and this can continue running as long as the higher than this priority enters into the ready list, or it has reached a blocking OS call. So you can put certain different ways of putting into the blocking. So you can insert some delay wait function, or wait for a interval of time, or those are the delay functions which I have already discussed. By inserting those functions, you're forcing the task to go to the blocks. Otherwise, since that was the highest priority, since you're putting in a continuous loop, it will go on. So that is a one way, or it has so these two are the options through which you can make it preempt. And round robin, it's very simple. Here you please note, all the tasks are given the same priority, and it will run for a fixed period or time slice, or until it has reached a blocking OS call. So this I have bolded here means the tasks are given with the same priority. But in preemptive, there will be different priorities given. So some of the tasks I can have a same, but I need to have some sort of a, means of which it can preempt. Okay. And the third one is cooperative multitasking or cooperative scheduling. Here again, you have a same priority. You're not given with the same interval of time. So because round robin is disabled, you're not enabling the round robin option in your configuration file, which means I'm not allocating for each task, for the task with the same amount of time. That please note. So same priority, but not fixed duration of time. But the task which is running can made to go to our task switching. So what are the meaning of scheduling? There has to be some means of switching the task, because the scheduler should give chance for all the tasks which are there in the ready list, some or the other way. In cooperative scheduling, so there are number of tasks in the ready list. You want to give execution chance for every task which is in the list. So here you give a chance through calling a function called os_task_pass. So using this function, you make the tasks for pushing to the blocked state. So the running task will go to the whatever the blocking state, so that the another task which is in the ready list get a chance for the execution. So let me repeat. In preemptive scheduling, the task switching happens by pushing it to say if there are some it has reached the blocked state, then till then it can run because the highest priority will be running. And please note, different priority will be assigned in the preemptive scheduling. In round robin, same priority, fixed amount of time is given for the different tasks. So as long as your time duration is over, the other task will get a chance for the execution. In cooperative scheduling, same priority, but there is no fixed amount of time. So you will make use of a function called like os_task_pass. So it is passing to the next ready task for getting a chance for the execution. Okay. So there is something like the default scheduling option in RTX is round robin preemptive. So for most applications, so this is most useful option. So they often use this type of a scheduling. So,
ma'am, I have one doubt.
Yeah.
Ma'am, what is like a blocking OS call?
Blocking OS call in the sense I call some sort of say for example event. I'm using an event. I'm using a semaphore. I'm using a mutex.
Okay.
Got it? So it will, whenever I'm using such kernel objects, so if I'm inserting those, means I need to wait for that. Suppose today anyway, I'll discuss with an example of using the event with the preemptive scheduling. Maybe you'll be able to understand. Will that be fine?
Yes, ma'am. And ma'am, in the one more, ma'am, it said that default scheduling is round robin preemptive.
Yeah, that I'll discuss when I discuss round robin scheduling.
Okay.
Yeah. So in preemptive scheduling, the round robin option is disabled. Round robin option is disabled in your configuration file, and each task must be given with a different priority. So when the task is started or whenever it is created, task with the highest priority will run. The highest priority task will run. Okay, so each task has a different priority level and will run until it is preempted, or you come out with some blocking OS call. In the sense, it could be an event, any sort of, or you insert some delay wait function. You pushing it so that it has to wait for that much amount of time. So for example, I'm running with the task T1 and it will preempt. Now task 2 will get a chance because if you look at this is the priority level, let us say. So T2 enters higher than the T1, so it will preempt the T1 and start executing. Suppose at this particular instant, T3 enters and which is given with the higher priority than T1 and T2, this gets a chance for the execution. And supposing this is getting a blocking, then among the list, T2 is the highest, so T2 will get a chance. So likewise, randomly I have given. So once you come out of the blocking state, again T3 will get a chance for the execution, maybe since a finish or whatever. Okay. So task will run until it blocks. It is forced to wait for an event flag or semaphore or other any kernel objects. When it blocks, the next ready task with the highest priority will be scheduled and will run until it blocks. So higher priority task becomes ready to run. So this is a very simple rule. So in preemptive scheduling, we build a hierarchy of task execution with each task consuming variable amounts of runtime. Variable amounts of. Okay. So in preemptive task, so what are the different ways through which the task switching takes place? So the task switch occurs whenever the task schedule is executed from the there is a system tick timer interrupt. So everything is through your interrupt. So because you're interrupting the process which is running or the task which is running. So the task scheduler process delays if you use some delay. If the delay for the task with the higher priority has expired, then of course the higher priority task starts to execute instead of currently running task. Okay. So suppose you are using some delay function through which whenever there is a delay called, then you are going to the delay wait function. Then definitely from the ready list, another task will get a chance for the execution. Okay, so through which you can have a task switching. Second case is using event. Okay, event is set for a higher priority task by currently running task or by an interrupt service. So anyways, if currently running task is suspended, then the higher priority task starts to run. Could be, I can say that suppose task 1 is running and even though it is highest among the list, it is waiting for an event. Let us say I am putting a function called wait for an event. In that case, maybe the event is set by the second task. So obviously it will get suspended and it switches to this second task, and wherein you are setting an event for the first. So as soon as the event is set by the task 2, it comes back to the higher priority and continue. Okay. And when you repeat in a loop, definitely it is again waiting for an event. So there will be a switching between the two tasks or any multiple number of tasks. And the third case is using the semaphore. So in the list, it is waiting for a semaphore token. Means to get a chance for the execution, you need to have some sort of a token. Whichever has got a token means that is eligible to get the execution by the processor. Okay. Anyway, we shall discuss the semaphore and the mutex later. But for the timing, you just note that the task which occurs due to delays and the event. Since these two I have already discussed, maybe let us make use of these in our example. But there is also possibility of getting through preemption through semaphore and the mutex. Maybe when I discuss the semaphore and mutex, let us see scheduling through that as well. I mean switching. Also, we have got mailbox. Okay. So through which there is a possibility of task switching. That is, a higher priority task is waiting for a mailbox message, and the current running task is suspended, and higher priority task starts to run. So the message can be posted by the currently running task or by any interrupt service routine. Okay. So if mailbox is full and a higher priority task is waiting to post a message to a box, so the current running task or an interrupt service routine takes a message route from the mailbox. Means there is something like a message is put in the box, and either the running task is waiting for the message, and whenever there is an waiting for a message through the mailbox, it is forced to go to the block state, and meanwhile the next task which is in the ready list start executing. Okay, so anyway, this also we are yet to discuss. And priority. Yeah, this is very simple, very simple. So if there is a chance, or say for example, you are running, considering that is the highest amount, start executing, and supposing another new task enters having higher than the running task, the priority. So then the running task will go back to the ready list, and the highest among the list will get a chance for the execution. It is purely based on the priority. Okay. So the running task resumes the execution, and the other task will get a chance for the processor time. Okay. So this is based on the priority. So through the priority, but in real, when we write a program in realization, maybe it is I need to add on the another task in the list. Okay. Yeah, we shall see the. Anyway, this is a simple code. With the real code, I'll show you with the key. So let us say I'm using, this is just a skeleton of it. I have a two tasks, task 1 and task 2. Maybe for each task I'm using a count, just to show that count 1, count 2. Job 1 is nothing but your task. So this is the naming of your task. Declaration of two tasks. And you have task 1 given with the some priority. So you assign the priority for the task. Okay. Sorry, what is wrong? Yeah. Here, I mean, this is in this way also you can write a code, no issues. You start with the task 1, and there is a what to call the priority assigned to this task, and you create second task with the lower priority than this. But in this, I have written a function called, I mean, a loop, continuous loop. Wait or means I'm waiting for an event flag for a timeout period. Okay. So whenever you wait, this is an OR function, please note, because I'm waiting only for this. So immediately it switches to the task 2, wherein I have a set. I have set an event for task 1. I have set an event for task 1. So when I set an event, it will come back and increment the count. It will increment the count. Okay, since it is a continuous loop. Again, I am waiting or, so it will come back here. But what happens is when I come back, I will be, because this instruction already executed in the beginning. So if you recall context switching, return address will be here and it will increment this count and repeat, set an event, switches back, okay, wherever it has started in the loop. So it will come back to the task 1 and from wherever it has stopped, repeat. Okay, so waiting for an event, set an event, increment these to count. This is how you can have a star switching. Only thing is you need to realize that the speed at which the count, that is counter, incrementing of the counter. Okay, yeah, in your main function, I need to have some initialization task. Anyway, I have not shown this. Okay, so here you are waiting for an event. So this is just an explanation of it. So we shall see the any doubts in the understanding of the simple code which I have given for preemptive scheduling through event? Hello?
No, ma'am.
Can you see the code? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So last class I have explained you about the UART and all, what are the initialization, everything. So here just give emphasis on the task switching through your event. Anyway, so we shall start with your main function. So in this, let me tell you what I am trying to do with this program. So here I'm having I think 2 tasks. Yeah, task 1 and task 2. So one of the tasks will continuously blink the LEDs of the board. So the LED blinking happens, and the another task is to simply send a message. Set a message, say for example any counter or something. So in the main program, I'm using the UART initialization. So UART initialization, and then I'm using the port pins for the GPIO. So maybe this is anyway, really I'm not using, but since I've copied the code, that is also set. It's not used in this case. Anyways, so P0.4 to P0.11 are the LED pins which I am selecting and putting it as an output. Then you initially make it set. Initially set. Then you have OSS initialization priority. This is for the function for initialization given with the highest. So why 10? Because we normally for the task we give 1, 2, 3, etc. So should be more than that. With that intention, we give the priority for the initialization task. So this is about your main code. Now coming to initialization function. Initialization function. We have underscore task initialization with the two tasks. Task 1 having the priority as 2, task 2 with the given priority 1, which means normally task 2 will be the highest. We have only 2 tasks for simplicity. And once you create the task, I delete this initialization task. So as usual. So delete this function. Then, yeah, before I move on to the task 1 and task 2, anyways, we have this inclusions rtl.h lpc. This is mandatory in all your code, and this will identification of the task with the OS underscore TID. This is also very much necessary, and you need to have some function prototype for the whatever the task you have it, and you're calling a UART initialization function. Okay, void, you declare it. And another declaration is we are going to display some characters here. So we'll be using a function called hex to ASCII function. So I have given an unsigned character hex to ASCII unsigned with some variable name. Okay, and this is I'm using counter. Anyway, this I'm using in my one of the tasks. So since I'm using a message called counter, which I'm going to display, so you declare with unsigned character allocating some memory space for your array. Anyway, this you will get it later when I move on to the code. So these are all the declarations which I am using. And this is a function we are using in our program. So I have written already saying that hex to ASCII conversion. Hex to ASCII conversion code. So you check it. If that particular character is greater than 9, then you add 37. If it is not, add 30 and return this. This is a simple function which we are using for conversion code. So I simply need to call that function in my task. That's it. And that is about, these are the initialization. Any doubts? Hello?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Now we'll move on to the task 1. As I said, in task 1, I'm going to put a message counter. I mean whatever the counter with the displaying that count with the data, whatever the value, and task 2 will be blinking the LEDs. Okay, and please remember that task 1 is the highest between the two, so definitely task 1 will take up a chance for the execution. Look at the code which we have given. Here we have a continuous loop wherein I am waiting for an event or function. Please note that here there is an or for a particular event of the event flag for a timeout period which I have given, means how long I need to wait. So as soon as this function is executed, so it will go to blocked, and task 2 will get a chance for the execution. Here what I do is already I have set the LED in my main code. Here I am clearing it, means I'm turning off the LEDs for a specific duration because it is a blinking the LEDs. And again I set the LED for a so much amount of time, and after that I'll set an event. I'll set an event for the task 1. As soon as I set an event for the task 1, the task 1 will come out of the blocking state and start executing, incrementing the counter value. Now this I am doing just to get the individual digit of your 4-digit value, but that is shifting to 12-bit to the left and shifting to the 8 bit, so that I mask it and get the value and put it in your array of data. Array 0, array 1, array 2, array 3, like that. These are the locations wherein I get the value. But before after I shift it, I call a function, that hex to ASCII function, and get the value. That much I do. Okay. So till your array is for a 4 set of arrays. Now I am using a message. The message is counter 1, something I have I'm given with the beginning itself. So there is a message. Yeah, so this is my message counter 1. So this I want to put message as well, tilde null character. So you put that message into the hold register till and check whether that character has out till the status register of your UART is set. Okay, that is while LPC UART line status register. So this you keep checking. This I already discussed. Till then, and then you repeat. So that COUNTR1, all the character need to be displayed. So here I have a I is equal to 0 because it's a continuous function. And then the array also, which we want to similar manner. So that this is just to till the counter and the data values are displayed, you continue with the loop. Okay. So this is how you have the counter and the display the message with the specific, that the count value need to be incremented. Start with 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, like that. Okay. So continuously incremented and displayed. This is your initialization code. Since you are using that UART, since I have discussed this in the previous class, so you will be using the specific declarations, the various registers of the UART in the initialization, like what are the pins of UART. Since you are using UART 0, so I need to say that which is my TXT and the RXT select function, and you make the peripheral control enable for the UART 0 and enable the DLAB bit so that you can load the value in the DLM and DLL. So you do it, then you disable the DLAB bit so that you can latch the value. Then you make use of this FIFO control register. Okay, by putting, this is a standard set of data you are using in all your program wherever you are sending any message. Then you can enable the interrupt for your receiver. Suppose transmit and receive interrupt enable. So at the end of your transmission, if you want to make use of any interrupt function, you can enable this. So this is not mandatory, but you normally in UART we should, anytime I should be in a position to receive any character, so we will allow the receiver to get the data, and as soon as you receive some character, and that is the data in your receive buffer. Make sure that there is an interrupt generated. Okay. Yeah. Any doubts? Hello?
No, ma'am, no doubt.
Okay. So let us see the realization. Maybe I have not realized all the code, few of them. The scheduling I have done it. Could you see the video? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
So the LED is blinking, and you can see that counter is incrementing. Counter is incrementing, putting the values continuously. Okay. So that is about the preemptive scheduling. Yeah. So we've seen the preemptive scheduling. Next, we shall see the round robin scheduling. Since I've discussed multiple times, let me finish this fast. The round robin based scheduling scheme is enabled by enabling there is a round robin. I think I've shown the configuration file wherein you have to enable the round robin. There is a round robin in your rtsconfig.c file, and declaring that each task with the same priority. So you have a same priority. So there won't be any priority variation in your task. All are given equal priority. But each task will be given with a set of duration. Okay, same time is given for each task. So here, as soon as your timeout over, it will suppose, and if there is something in between, suppose this particular task, it needs certain resource. In that case, it can go to the block in between. It can block, need not wait until the complete time. Okay, so this may be forced to go to block in between, in need of any resource. Then another task, because suppose I have a 4 task. Okay, but if you look at this, T3 had blocked, right? So T4 will start executing. Since I have 4 tasks in a list, the blocked one, after completion of your block duration, it will go back and put it in the ready list. So it will come back. It's in a sort of a FIFO kind of a thing. So after T4, T1 will get a chance for the execution because that was among the list. So then T2, then T3, like that. Okay, so this is how the execution takes place in your round robin. So in round robin, the task will run for a fixed period or a time slice, or until they reach blocking OS call. Blocking OS call is something like your event, anything. So event in the sense, I am waiting for a certain resource. So you can put up in that. So in this scheme, each task will be allocated a fixed amount of run time before the execution, before it is passed to the next ready task. Okay. So round robin preemptive schedule. This is the default option. We will see that round robin preemptive scheduling. Maybe that I will discuss after this. So you have maybe if there is a time, I'll discuss those next in the next class. I'll start with the round robin preemptive so that we can have a revision of both. So you are this is simple pseudocode for your round robin scheduling. Look at this. I don't give anything here because everything will be taken care by your configuration file. So what is the amount of time should be given to the switching? So I start with the task 1. Okay, create the task 2. So there's no but as per your syntax, I just give the priority, but it should be the same. Okay. So while 1, you increment this counter and go to the task 2, and after the duration, counter 2. So that's it. It's very simple. So this is very simple code. Switching between the task is done through the timeout periods. So as soon as the time period completes, it switches to the next task. Okay. So let us sorry. Yeah. Yeah, round robin scheduling. Let me not explain the whole program again. So these are all I have a 4 tasks, and this is your initialization task given with the same priority for all 4. Okay. So you need to enable the round robin option, and here what we do is you using the LEDs in all the functions. If you look at this, you're using the LED functions. So in the main, I'm selecting the LEDs, and making those output direction. Okay, and set the LEDs initially. So call the system initialization function for all this. This is as usual. So I'm just using the LED, that's it. Okay. So I'm not using any message, so there is no UART function, nothing. It's very simple. So let me start with your task. There are 4 tasks. So you have initially set in the main function. You clear the LED. So you look at this, I'm clearing the first LED. Then after some duration of time, set that LED. Means it is just on off. In the second task, it will automatically switch to the next task because after the timeout period, it goes to the next. Here again, I'm clearing the next two LEDs. It's 3. Okay, and you clear and then set for a specific duration of time. It is up to you. You give the delay function for blinking. Then I do for next 3 LEDs. Okay. So you put a delay function for the same. That's it. Then again you have 4 F1111. Okay. So this is what you do it. Give some delay function. It's very simple. Even though we have given 4 tasks, you do nothing, just blinking the LEDs. Okay. Any doubts?
Ma'am, here where we are configuring, like I will be using round robin scheduling.
Which one?
Like I have to specify in RTX file, right, to say that I will be using specifically round robin scheduling.
Yeah, that I have shown in the last, right? Configuration file. There is a configuration file here. OS round robin.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
This is your OS stick. This I think I have shown last class. Whenever you are not using, this will be 0. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, for the specific configuration, what is the scheduler timeout?
Here I think 1 millisecond or something.
And we're using default
1 microsecond. 10,000 something I have given. Let me check 1 second. You asked about the timer tick, right? Hello?
yes, ma'am. That what is the timer tick, and also for the scheduler there is some timeout, right? It should let the task execute for that much amount of time.
Already declared in your configuration file. Timer delay something. So it is based on your hardware timer. Peripheral clock by 4 something, that is by default value, which I have discussed right in the last. So that will be taken care. OS stick. Define OS stick clock. This is your system clock, 100 megahertz, and your clock will be divided by 4. Peripheral clock. The same clock will be used for this. Means the duration. The same clock, whatever you use it, right? The same thing will be given for this. Hello?
Yes, ma'am. And for the scheduler timeout, it's 10 ticks.
Yeah. In the tick time, that what is that? What do you call the minimum? The resolution will be declared by your the timer.
Ma'am, if it's 10 ticks, can you show the task 1 again? So in task 1, we are saying that we ask it to wait for 10 ticks, right? So task 1 goes to block state for that amount of time. So now since this is in block state, some other task will be executing.
I have not mentioned that it is a 10 tick for the each task, right? So there is nothing like 10 tick for each task. But when we write a code, when we write a program, it is the way in which you can give the time duration so that you can visualize the result.
That is fine, ma'am. I'm not, that's not my doubt. The issue I'm not able to understand is that the round robin scheduler is going to give the task only 10 ticks to execute. Task 1 will be able to.
Right, only 10 ticks for that particular task. It will suppose let us consider that I am, it's a way in which you are giving round robin sort of thing. Fixed duration will be given for each task. Let us consider in that way. Fine. Suppose I am giving a duration of some 20 ticks or 30 ticks, whatever, or maybe 100 ticks. Hello? Are you getting it?
Yes, ma'am.
So after 100, till then this will be there in this loop itself. Okay. After that 100 ticks, it will go to the next. It will stay here for 100 ticks, then it goes to the next. It will stay here for 100 ticks, then it goes to the next, that way, whatever the duration. So that I'm not sure what is the duration is given in the code. I mean in the round robin, that I need to check. Okay. So, but for the understanding, whatever the amount of time is given for each task, that will stay. Then only it will move to the next task. Okay. Meanwhile, if there is something, for example, let me give you in this fashion. Suppose I have a clear function and I am putting a delay wait. What do you mean by delay wait function? It is forcing this task to go to the block. Correct. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So whenever I'm forcing this task to go to the blocked state, because as usual, whenever there is, it will switch to the next task. So then you have something, and you have some delay function. You wait for something, and you have made this task also go to the blocked state. Wait for something. As per the rule of your the round robin, switch to the next task in a list. Okay. So then the task 3 will get a chance and it will do something, and there is again I have made this task to block, switch to the next task. Likewise it goes on. In iterative manner, it will come back wherever it has paused, then continue. You get it? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. So then why is task 4 never executed?
Task? Which task never executed?
Task 4, the code says that this task is never executed.
No, this is the comment. I've given this I've made. I mean, this is for cooperative. Same thing I have copied. It is not for this. Let us see when I running. So this comment will not be for this particular task.
Okay, ma'am, got it.
So because I have commented the pass, the same program I have edited for both. Maybe this you can you need not have it to avoid the confusion. You got it?
Yes, ma'am, it's clear.
So now let us, I think it's very simple code. We'll go to round robin. Yeah. It's running safe. But the delay which we have given for few, it is too short, for it is too little more. We'll be able to visualize. That's it. Could you see the delay? I mean, LED blinking.
Yes,
Hello?
ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is about, I mean, all 4 tasks have run. You could see, right? The task 4, I made all 4 LED to run. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. So if you've got any doubts, you can ask, or we'll stop here, and the next class I'll start with the round robin preemptive, and we are pending with the cooperative scheduling. It is quite simple. Anything?
Ma'am, in the next class also, in the beginning itself, we will have the
Which one?
quiz. In the next class,
What?
quiz, ma'am, quiz.
Need not. Actually, today I thought because last class I did some theory, right? I wanted to ensure that whether you have gone through this.
Okay.
So we can have any time, right? 1 or 2 marks for the quiz.
Yes, ma'am. Like it's up to you.
Yeah. Any other clarifications? Hello?
No, ma'am, it's clear.
Yeah. One thing I did a mistake in your the quiz one. I did not enter the points before I returned it, because of which there is. I mean, what I do, I will share the quiz with the answers in the teams. Okay. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So in your name list, I'll straight away enter the marks of looking at your, because I'm in a hurry. I returned the forms, because of which you got the mistake, right? I did not give the points for each question. Before giving that, I have returned it. Now it will not do the auto evaluation. So I need to check. What I do, I will share the answer sheet in the teams. Then I'll put your total marks in the name list. Okay, of the quiz one. Hello?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, then we'll leave.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.